This is Dr. Steve Cangiano, the president and co-founder of RDT.Media and Events with its online companions, relationship-development.com and humanity-upgrade.com. We're continuing our conversation with New York Times best-selling author Rick Hanson. We just finished a discussion on neuroplasticity, how the way you think can change the actual structure of your brain. This is one of the most profound insights in scientific history. Now we're going to talk about a concept and a topic called mindfulness, and we're going to distinguish that from meditation. What is mindfulness? What is meditation? We're going to get started with Rick Hanson right now. One thing you mentioned, and actually was reading that mindfulness, because this is a big topic now, mindfulness is so important. And one of the things you said, and I was curious to hear this, is that mindfulness is not always enough. And I remember I actually ran a wellness clinic in the city for a couple of years. And one of the things we would do is we would recommend that people would meditate. And then one of the gentlemen that worked there scolded me for it. He says, Steve, you can't just tell people to meditate, because they need to learn how to. There's a lot of techniques and et cetera involved. And then recently I was reading an article from University of New Zealand, Massey University in New Zealand, and they did an exhaustive study on meditation. And they said there's a lot of researcher bias in some of the studies. There's actually some adverse effects. Tell me, as really a world expert on meditation and mindfulness, give us your synopsis or your feedback on those types of things. What is mindfulness? When is it used? When is it?
Yeah. These are great questions, Steve. Really deep. So mindfulness has both a kind of narrow specific meaning, and these days it has a really kind of broad and fuzzy meaning, both two kinds of meanings. First way to use the term is in the traditional sense of simply sustained present moment awareness. In other words, instead of being lost in thought or distracted or caught up in inner movies, whether they're resentments and regrets, negative little movies, or fantasies about where you're going on vacation next year, instead of that, sustained present moment awareness. The sustained present moment awareness can be applied internally to what you're feeling inside. It can be applied to what's happening around you, a truck driving next to you on the freeway, or the play of emotion in the face of someone that you're trying to sell to, say, in business, or your partner. You're trying to understand why your partner feels the way your partner feels. We can be mindful of things outside us too. So mindfulness goes both ways, and mindfulness can be really wide open. It can just take in the whole stream of consciousness at once, or it can narrow down like a laser beam on some particular thing, like focusing on just the sensations of breathing at the upper lip. That's the essence of mindfulness. It's morally neutral. A burglar is mindful as well as a saint. The broader meaning of mindfulness these days brings in other things like self-compassion, self-acceptance, a kind of lovingness, a sense of just sort of taking life as it is without struggling with it. These are good things, but you can see that that's a bigger, fuzzier definition. Mindfulness, there's a tremendous amount of research on how mindfulness, both in the narrow sense and in the broad sense, are really good for us. They're good for long-term health. They're good. They make people tougher. People are more able to handle trauma and loss and setbacks if they are mindful. As people practice mindfulness, there are lots of sort of results that tend to occur over time, like building up a more stable place that is undisturbed inside you, from which you can be aware of thoughts and feelings that are upsetting, but with more sense of not being swept away by them. And that makes all the difference in the world. You know, if we're completely swept away by our reactions to things, we're lost, we're swept. But if we have a place inside us where we can stand to witness what's happening, which could be very painful, could be hard, but at least we're not completely drowning in it. That makes a lot of difference for people. So mindfulness in general is a good thing. Now, if someone is mindful of material inside themselves that's overwhelming, the ways in which mindfulness opens the trap door to your own interior can lead to people being flooded with painful, difficult, traumatic material. It's not the fault of mindfulness. It's the fact that people just lack other resources inside, like being able to calm themselves down or have the feeling inside that others love them and are with them as they face what happened in their childhood or really come to terms with a betrayal in adulthood, say. That's important to grow. So yeah, it's appropriate to be a little cautious about how we use mindfulness, like any other tool, and to make sure that when you pop open the trap door to your own insides, you're not opening a trap door to hell. Okay, be careful about that. Now, meditation. Meditation is a kind of sustained application of mindfulness. There are many different techniques, and I think it's useful to make a distinction between forms of meditation, or you could say contemplative practice generally, that involve a relationship with something transcendental, like God. The form that meditation takes for many people worldwide, probably the most common form, is prayer. There are also secular forms of meditation that do not involve a sense of something divine. Mindfulness of breathing in the body, mindfulness of self-compassion, mindfulness of gratitude, mindfulness of a candle. So either way, a person is being meditative. Now, if you do some really intense form of meditation, like a 10-day retreat in total silence, and the trap doors are starting to open up inside you, and there's a lot of unresolved, creepy stuff in there, you could have a bad experience. Okay, don't do that. If you think you might be at risk, be careful. Respect the power of the dark side of the force, as it were. Don't underestimate it. But that does not mean that meditation retreats are bad for everybody. It just means that, like so many things, it's like saying, well, a black diamond ski slope is bad. Well, it's not bad. Just make sure you're capable of skiing at that level before you go down the slope. And then if you are, it's fantastic. Meditation retreats can be incredibly useful for many, many people, including myself. So to me, that's how to understand these cautions. And sometimes what people do, and you see it here as you see it sometimes elsewhere, you'll have these critics. I think of them as professional grumps or professional Grinches who fasten on a rare negative outcome. That risk is real for those vulnerable people doing intensive practice. And then they generalize from that fairly rare event to some kind of concerns about the whole business. That's just silly. Be careful, be aware, be thoughtful, have a sense of what you're doing, but otherwise, there's enormous research on the physical health benefits and the mental health benefits and the relationship benefits of some kind of regular mindfulness practice. I think it's a little bit like exercise. You go to the gym, the super fitness people there, and you say, hey, what's the right exercise? What's the best exercise? And they'll tell you straight, the best exercise is the one you'll do every day. That's the best exercise. So I would say to people, you want to know the best meditation? It's the one you'll do every day for a minute or more. Find something you'll do every day. Carve out a little space for yourself, a minute or more, where you say, this time matters. Sorry, hold the calls, hold the kids. I'm going to do this for me. And then for that minute or 10 or 40, just find something that works for you. One of the simplest things of all is to sustain awareness of the body. Even counting the breaths, like a full breath is 1, the next full breath is 2. And do that not to get caught up in counting, but to make yourself stay consistently aware of your breathing and watch the fact that around the 3rd or 4th or 5th breath, wow, the distractions really start coming in. And that's very educational, to watch all the distracting activity in your own mind against the quiet backdrop of this focus on some simple object of attention, such as the sensations of breathing. Or make it more emotional. If breathing is too boring and you get restless and you can't do it, walk while you breathe. That'll make it more stimulating. Or focus on something that's more emotionally rewarding that will help capture your attention in a stable way so you can stay grounded and train your attention. A more emotionally rewarding object like feelings of gratitude. Make gratitude your object of meditation. Meditate on gratitude and contentment. Wow, what a great meditation. So thanks for letting me give this kind of long answer here. I hope it was useful.
That's good, because
that's good for now.
Yeah, I think a lot of people want to meditate, they understand and they hear about the benefits, but they don't know exactly what to do. And it's just kind of a lot of time given as advice without the meat that you just gave them. So this is extremely valuable for people.
Yeah, that's great. If I could, I'm going to stick my neck out here and I'm going to suggest a meditation that I do that is related to the evolution of the brain. And you'll encounter it, I think, in the third class of the positive neuroplasticity training, which is being released this week, and you're engaging. And it has to do with the fact that in a kind of a metaphorical, funny way, we all have a little lizard inside us, the reptilian brainstem. We all have a little mouse inside us that relates to the mammal subcortex, sits on top of the brainstem and has parts of it that people have heard about more and more, like the amygdala. All right. And then on top of that, we have a little monkey inside us all, the human primate neocortex. And I think biological evolution is simply a fact. It is what it is. Simultaneously, I myself have a strong sense of divine that's meaningful to me. If people don't care to think in terms of biological evolution, they can still just take it as it is, that we do have this brainstem that we share structurally with reptiles. We do have a subcortex we share with all mammals, and we do have a big neocortex, simpler versions of which can be found in the primates. So the takeaway from this as a meditation is that these three layers of the brain are related to how we manage our three major needs for safety, satisfaction, and connection. This gives us a very fundamental model. We manage safety by avoiding harm. We manage satisfaction by approaching reward, avoiding and approaching. And we manage connection, relationships, through attaching to others. So we have these three overarching systems that motivate us and manage our lives: avoiding, approaching, and attaching. So the meditation is to take a few minutes, 10 minutes, you could do it longer if you want, and just kind of use this as a little roadmap. Start by, once you take a minute to get sort of centered and settled, and then focus on experiences of safety, like feeling protected or calming, or feeling strong inside, able to deal with threats, or feeling that there are others who are resources for you, who are in your life. They'll help you. And just help these experiences sink in. Don't focus on all the complicated story about it. Focus on the experience of calm strength. That's pretty awesome. And remember, neurons that fire together wire together. So as you marinate in these useful experiences, they will be soaking into you, literally, weaving their way into the fabric of your being as you kind of marinate in them. Pretty good. Then, after a few minutes have passed, whenever you want, focus on feelings of satisfaction and contentment, like gratitude, a sense of enoughness already. Yes, there might be challenges to safety. Yes, there might be challenges to satisfaction, but in the core of your being, in terms of satisfaction, you can feel an enoughness already. What you're glad about, the pleasures you've had, the many, many little goals and some big ones you've accomplished and have been successful at along the way. Many opportunities to feel a growing contentment inside, the basis of which you meet the next moment. Pretty beautiful. Now you're feeling calm and strong. Now you're feeling contented and kind of happy and grateful. And then you move into love. You focus on, all right, feelings of caring flowing out of you, compassion for others, friendliness toward others, not making anything up, just your own natural good heart. You start feeling it. Also be aware of caring flowing toward you, even in imperfect relationships, people who are friendly, who do appreciate you, maybe who love you. More and more, you're just kind of marinating and warm feelings flowing in and flowing out. It's great. And then just take another minute or two to kind of wrap it up. Rest it in a fundamental sense of ease, around which could be pain, could be anxiety, could be you got to deal with some hassle in the day to come. But in the core of your being, there's a sense of unshakable well-being. That's a wonderful meditation, which involves, to really sum it up in a goofy way, petting the lizard, feeding the mouse, and hugging the monkey.
This is Dr. Stephen Cangiano here with Rick Hanson. We just completed our conversation of mindfulness meditation with some practical hints on how to incorporate both of them into your life. Next, we are going to talk about your evolutionary glitch. This is something called negativity bias. Rick is the world's leading authority on the topic. Stay tuned.